All right, good morning, everyone. It's 11:30, so let's get things started. Thanks for joining us this morning. My name is David Legault. I'm the general sales manager for our entire groups of station again. And for the people who are joining us today that weren't here 2 weeks ago, I believe it's probably because you probably were made aware of, or maybe even watched the recording that we sent out 2 weeks ago. But if you're joining us for the first time, Chuck Mefford is a dear friend of mine. He's been a marketing strategist for businesses for over 40 years. And last year, he came out with his third marketing book, Tickle the Toes, Touch the Heart, Change the Mind. So I'm super excited to have Chuck doing this for us again. Just before we get started, everybody's muted during this webinar. And so if you have any questions, please use the chat button, which is right in the middle of your screen at the bottom there, and type any questions you have. I'll be reading those questions out loud to Chuck, and you'll answer them at the end of the presentation. This is a live webinar, so I hope we don't have any glitches and everything goes well. But if you do have any questions, go ahead and write them right away. We're going to read them at the end of the webinar, and expect between the webinar and all the questions answered to have this last under 45 minutes. So Chuck, take it away.
Good morning, David. Thank you. Happy to be here. I hope you are too and doing all well. A lot of big news coming out. I'm a cheesehead, if you probably don't know by now, and I am living in Dallas, Texas, have for the last 25 years. And the big news you probably heard yesterday, on top of all the other news, and everything changes every day, is a landmark high-end department store, as Neiman Marcus, we know here in Dallas as Needless Markup, and obviously all their branches, declared bankruptcy. And that's a little unnerving, obviously, with all the other things they're going through. But I think you got to kind of take it in perspective, especially in the sage words of the Oracle of Omaha. We call Warren Buffett, one of the master investors, and has gone through ups and downs many years. And here's Warren's kind of take on probably the first of a few bankruptcies that we'll see over the next probably 90 days. Only when the tide goes out do we discover who's been swimming naked. And great brand, Neiman Marcus, since 1907, Stanley Marcus, beloved owner, just passed away back in 2002 here in Dallas. But they have these classic Christmas catalogs where his and hers cabins and planes and unbelievable stuff. Actually, one of the covers of a Christmas catalog had the Vanderbilts and a little kid as Anderson Cooper Vanderbilt. And so just famed catalog, but they lost their way, much like J.C. Penney's, Sears, Kohl's, maybe a company you remember, Montgomery Ward's. These mass merchandisers, middle, high, low, they've lost their way. Kmart, on life support, etc. So this is just because they've been swimming naked, and they've gone through 8 owners, and this is the latest group that was handling them. They just couldn't handle it because some tough times happened, and they were way too thin in cash flow, etc. So we're assuming you're not in that situation. You weren't swimming naked. We've been hunkered down. We've all been hurt, different levels, but you're here and you're alive, and we're planning on coming back. Business, it's time to get back to business. And much like our sage business advisor Wayne Gretzky says, hey, it's not where the puck is, it's where the puck's going to be, is what makes a great hockey player. What makes a great business owner? It's not where the puck is. A great business owner plays where the puck's going to be. So let's start thinking about getting back to business. We're all ready. And let me give you 3 pieces of ideas, advice, if you will, that I think can help you as we all start to get back to business. The barbell economy is something we're experiencing well before COVID-19, but we need to understand what's going on and how that affects your business. What is the #1 key to sales today and after we emerge from this pandemic? And probably the most important thing, what's the right message? Things have changed in a New York minute. So what's the right thing to say, and how do you say it, and where do you say it? Well, let's get into some of these things right now, all right? Barbell economy. What is the barbell economy? Well, a lot of brands have been doing some heavy lifting over the last 12 years, this last great run we've had since the last 2008 recession when things were a little tough. And what's happened, there's a guy named Matty B, who I saw down in Miami at a fantastic seminar by Burrell, just before everything shut down, right in early March. And what Matty B calls himself, or Matt Britton talks about, is this barbell economy, how, it affects brands, it affects business owners, et cetera. And one of the things you got to decide is, where are you on the barbell? Here's kind of what's happened, though, in 12 years. The lower people, millennials specifically, that he's tracked, have started to migrate to the heavier weight, the ends of the barbell. In other words, if you're looking for cheap today, you're going to do Arm & Hammer, Purex, a cheaper brand laundry detergent. If you're looking for Green Planet, save the earth, do the right thing responsibly, you're going to pay more for a company called Method. And the company that I grew up with as a baby boomer, called Tide, has been losing market share, much to the P&G's chagrin, because people have gone or migrated to these barbells, either the cheap value, or I'm going to do it because it's for a cause. And cause marketing is huge, and there's all other things that go into this. But the real question is, and yeah, you're not Tide and you're not Arm & Hammer, but you are a business, and people are looking at you at three ways: either you're middle, high end, or low end. But you got to tell people kind of where you are, and especially what you can do for them in what's going on right now and that we're emerging out of. In other words, what's your story, man? And if you can't tell people who you are by your name, then you better add a few words that say we're these guys in your lineup of choices. And as you look at the barbell, we're either the cheap choice, the value choice, much better to say cost efficient than cheap, right? Or, we're a few more dollars, and here's why. No one in this kind of period coming out is going to want to rub their Rolex or things like that in people's faces, because they're even embarrassed if they're doing well in tough times. So even the high-end brands sometimes hard to justify. But you got to kind of decide, who are you? And in the consumer's lineup of choices, where do you fit in? All right. That's huge. And if you need help with that, certainly the great folks at Subartic can help you out. That's what I do all the time when I come into the market. But having what we call a differentiating idea is huge. What's yours? And if you don't have one, now's a great time to work on what's your difference maker, and make sure everyone in your staff knows, here's why we do what we do and why we're different than all the other people that say they do what we do. There's no product or service in America that your competition can't say they do it cheaper and they do it better. And a lot of times they do. You better claim your mental real estate and say, hey, we're these people, and here's what we can do for you. Here's the position we own, wherever that is on the barbell. Number one key to sales. What is the number one key to sales as we start to burble and percolate and whatever this is to get things going and get our momentum? It's kind of like a car in the ditch. The first 4 feet of a snow bank are probably the toughest thing to get a car out of, the heavy lifting from a dead start. And some of us have been rolling, some of us kind of at a dead start. We got to crank up again. But that's where all the effort takes. I don't have to tell you that. Once things get going, you can push a car down a snow-packed road if you had to with one arm. But all the energy, inertia, and effort is right now to get this thing out of the ditch and get going. So it's a good to remind ourselves the fundamental basic fact of what is the number one key to sales. And it's a 5-letter word we call trust. In everything you do, you've got to build trust. And people, short term, yeah, they got to know that you're antiseptic safe, or you'll deliver curbside, or here's how we roll now in this new world. But that's going to still be short term compared to long term. All right. And whatever kind of business, whether it's investment bankers or dog stores, grooming, or coffee shops, or all the other things in between, it's not only important to tell people what's your difference maker, but also it's very important to keep building trust with your current customers or consumers and your future ones. So what's the keys to building trust here, Chuck? Well, I'm glad you asked. Number one is tell people who you are clearly and what you can do for them. And then when they come in the door, deliver big time, more than they expected. Again, the companies that win are more than product. They understand they're a lot more than chicken. They're more than products. It's what you do for the customer beyond your product or service, frankly. And that is part difference maker, but also something we call wow customer service. What are you doing? Hey, are you there? What are you doing to wow your customers, man? Great time to talk about that with your staff and have a mantra or a statement, or certainly just, I'm not big on mission statements. Most people don't go to work for a mission statement, but why do we roll? Why do we do what we do? We all know that if you didn't have customers, And we know what that's like short term, don't we? We wouldn't exist. And some of us, unfortunately, are going to have a tough time making it. But it's all about the customer. We live to serve the customer. Our job is to help our customers get where they're going in life. And if you can do that and deliver your product or service with a wow, even better. For instance, why is it that two companies sell the same product and one does 4 times better than the other? I'm thinking about a company you know as KFC, who the average Kentucky Fried Chicken does about $1 million a year. What's the average Chick-fil-A do? By the way, they sell chicken too, right? 4 million. So why do they sell 4 times as much? Yes, they're a good product, but the head of Chick-fil-A will tell you it doesn't have anything to do with the product. It's how they wow their customers. They never say, thank you. That's what everyone does. They say, my pleasure. And because thank you is a lower form, if they can say it's our pleasure to serve you, that's a much higher way to say we exist for you. Thank you for, and they were delivering by hand and taking orders to speed things up long before there were viruses around because it was the right thing to do. And now they have no touch and all that stuff. So again, it's how you deliver with a wow, clean cut, fresh college kids. You know, some of the burger places you can't even get the order right. And that's really the third key is, do you deliver on your brand promise? Every time I come through your door, are you going to deliver and do what you say you're going to do? That's how you build trust. Make a promise and do what you say you're going to do. It's frustrating when you got to go back around because you didn't get a straw or they forgot the fries or what. That's never, ever, ever happened to me, at least in Chick-fil-A, because they have this master checklist to ensure the order is never wrong. So what are you doing to wow your customers, to tell them about your difference? How are you consistently delivering that service on a consistent basis? You know, big brands were built on consistency. A guy named Kemmons Wilson, you know him as the founder of a little chain of hotels called Holiday Inn. Well, he was a builder, but he got tired of going from one city to another and not knowing what kind of quality level of consistency his hotel room would be, because sometimes they found surprises. And he got mad about having to pay for his kids. That's why kids still stay free at Holiday Inn, because of that Kemmons Wilson mantra, how they wowed customers back then. But he was selling consistency. I could get a clean, comfortable room anywhere if I knew they had that label on it. And that's what Motel 6 has done, et cetera. So again, are you consistently, because if you do all those things, have a difference maker, wow the customer, have consistency, that's going to drive the second most important and the third most important things on your website, which are ratings and reviews, which by the way is really what? It's word of mouth on steroids, a permanent word of mouth. And man, we can't afford not to have great ratings and reviews. Why? Well, here's a great statistic just came out of the US Chamber of Commerce. 53% of all people tell you that they will only shop, do business with a 4-star plus business. Look at your website. Look at your Yelp ratings. If you're not having 4 stars, you're telling me you just lost the chance to reach 53% of all potential consumers. That's a big number. If not, now's the time to get your act together and make sure those ratings and reviews are sterling. And there's so many ways you can do that if you work on it. In fact, the folks again at Subartic can help you as well. But you got to have, and here's another statistic the Chamber found, 91% of all people say that if you have a positive review, they're 100% more likely they're going to do business with you. So you got to have positive reviews, but make sure it's to the level of a 4, 5-star. Tough. You got to maintain it. You got to work at it like anything else in life, right? So where do you stand? What's your difference maker? Keep building that trust with your wow customer service, your consistency, your ratings, reviews. Let's get into the third thing, the right message. You know, what's the right thing to say today? Why? Because we all know, ladies and gentlemen, we're not in Kansas anymore. Things have changed. The tornado pandemic has changed things, and it'll keep changing. And there's an ebb and a flow if you've been around for a while like I have. And I used to be a young guy with hope and a $43 double knit suit and a perm, and now I'm just an old guy, and it's not good. But you know, I have survived over 45 years of business, believe it or not, and I've seen a lot of ups and downs. And this too shall pass. There's no cost. But again, what have we learned from the past, and how can we apply lessons from the past to help you right now? Benet and Field is a phenomenal research group. I am big time data driven, like a lot of things. Show me the evidence. And that can work against you a little bit too, by the way. That's a whole nother webinar. But mainly, yeah, I want to see what's going on and what really works. What's true, what we call return on investment. Benet and Field has studied business owners for over 30 years. They've worked and diagrammed case studies of successful over 1,000 local direct business owners around the world, basically. And based on the last time we had a down in a recession, here's things they learned of the successful businesses relative to communicating with their customers. All right. Number one is they all focus on the long term. Yeah, we got to get back going, and I don't think sales activation is going to be that hard. It's just getting people back and letting them know we're open again, and it's going to be a ramp up. And if you're a dentist, that's going to be different than if you're a coffee shop, et cetera, or a pet groomer. But it's still about long term. I mean, here's the point. Are you going to be around 3 years from now? Do you hope to be around 3 years from now? Then why not have, I know you got a payroll system. How about a marketing system, a marketing plan for the next 3 years, not for the next 13 weeks? Because if you plan on being around 3 years from now, wouldn't it make sense to have a marketing plan that focuses on how you're going to grow your business, not just now coming out of this, but really turning on the afterburners and having a strong finish, and more importantly, having the best possible 2021 we can have. And you got to defend your share of voice. A lot of times there's this big bubble that happens, as happened now, where there's a separation. Here's a couple statistics for you, and I'll show you. Burrell, again, this great research. In fact, I just did a great Brandcamp interview. He's a phenomenal guy. If you go to Brandcamp on your podcast, and you'll see the interview with Gordon, they do all this research, and they research businesses right in the middle of March and beginning of April as what were they doing with their marketing dollars. And basically, out of 600, 700 businesses they talked to, here's the numbers. 50% said they're doing nothing or decreasing. 8% didn't know what they're doing, and 42% have either maintained or increased their advertising. So 50% either decreased or cut back completely. 8% don't know, and 42% of business owners have either maintained or increased. And that 42%, they're doing this number two because they've learned from the past. They're defending their share of voice. Here's what's happening. Media consumption way up. A lot of people doing things they haven't done because they're holed up at home looking for it. And so we know from any kind of research right now, the media consumption of all the apps and the internet usage and your phone are way off the charts, okay? So that's huge, way up. And then what's happened also? A lot of your competitors have pulled off, have cut back. So it creates this huge bubble, or it's not just share of voice, it's called ESOB, extreme share of voice. And the companies that market during these times always shows a huge increase later. I mean, bigger than anyone else during the, in other words, it's taking the risk and telling your story and communicating with your customers right now. Great example, watch Jersey Mike's. They've gone full steam into delivering at your door. They've got a huge cause this weekend. Anything you spend money with them, and 20% of all the money this weekend, they're going to give to people that can't afford food right now. So huge. They're putting big time money into this downtime. You hardly see Subway. You hardly see Firehouse. So again, history, if it repeats itself, will show about a year from now, 2 years from now, this investment will pay off hundredfold because, again, lack of competitors and high extreme media usage right now. So they're not just defending, they're seizing the market opportunity to grow their business, much like Walmart did back when the Y2K situation we had then. A lot of people pulled back, panicked. This was before 9/11, at Y2K or 2000 when we switched the calendars, and everyone kind of pulled back for a while because they panicked. Walmart increased their share of voice and they became from number 16 the number one share of voice in the country, and they never looked back since. Today they are still the number one share of voice advertiser in America. And probably most importantly, whatever you do in your communication, demonstrate humanity, warmth, and maybe even a little humor.
Everyone can appreciate a bad joke from time to time.
Someone has broken into a local police station and stolen the toilet. Police say they have nothing to go on.
But nobody appreciates bad plumbing. So if your plumbing is laughable, don't risk it, let Elsmore fix it. And in these uncertain times, Elsmore Plumbing hopes you can find a little humor to brighten your day.
Get more with Elsmore. Elsmore Plumbing. Elsmore Plumbing.
ElsmorePlumbing.com.
Or another example like this.
Norm's GTC CarQuest Auto Parts store in Marshall reminds you that your cars are meant to be driven. When they sit, rubber parts such as wiper blades and belts can dry out. Driving your vehicle for at least 15 minutes will recharge the battery, knock any rust off your brake pads, and even shake off some of your own cabin fever. Now, if you do need replacement of any of these parts, stop by Norm's GTC CarQuest Auto Parts store on East College Drive in Marshall, or give them a call for curbside pickup or delivery.
So 2 local examples, actually in your neck of the woods, of companies that are demonstrating some humanity, warmth, a little bit of humor. But again, we're talking about now, and I'm talking more about down the pike, not just now, the next 13 weeks. I'm talking about what's the best way, what's the right message to say any time of day. And if you focus on the basics, getting back to the fundamentals, as always, that always works, whether it's a football team or a business. And a lot of us have done that right now. We've looked at our balance sheets, we've tightened up on things we can't afford now, and we're going to emerge from this tighter, leaner, meaner, better run. We're not as sloppy anymore. Every recession has shown that we're a better run business, okay? But what's the right thing to say? And let me give you a quick little demonstration. If you'll go along with this real quickly, just take a piece of paper if you got one around you, and you're probably doing something else right now while I'm doing this, right? So turn over a piece of paper and just write down what's a typical customer problem when they come in the door. Just write that down. What's the typical customer problem when they walk in the door and say, hey, I need some help. Can you? What's their number one problem? If I'm an HVAC guy, I get a call because right about this time, the air conditioning is not working in Texas, and it's almost 90 degrees down here pretty soon, believe it or not. So that's going to be a problem, you know. What's the number one problem customers might come in your door with? All right. Number 2, I would like you to say, how do you solve that problem? Do you show up in your truck? Do you fix it in a day? Do you guarantee this? How do you solve that problem when they come in the door? Maybe in a no contact way today. That might not be as important this summer, we'll find out. But today, that's what people worry about, and clean and things like that. But people worry not about you, we know that. They worry about themselves and their choices and their challenge and their journey in life. And your job is not to be the hero, because the customer is the hero of their own story. Your job is to help them on their journey. And not only show them how you can solve their problem, but because, watch, this is so important, because 95% of all decisions we make are subconscious and emotional. Describe how they're going to feel once the problem is solved before you work with them. Let them know how they're going to feel, what it's going to do, because again, I'm buying a feeling. We buy our product. No one buys products and services. We buy what the product and service does for us. And even more importantly, why do we buy what the product and service does for us? Because it's how it makes us, come on, feel. What do you do, and when you are done with your product service, how do you make that customer feel that I've got the new air conditioner? I'm cool now, man. I'm cool. Good. Well, describe that feeling. Look at how Walmart does. These guys are masters at marketing and advertising. Look at the money they spend in research. But look how they tell their stories today, okay? Whether it's on the internet or anywhere. This is an internet example where they're selling tennis shoes here, okay? You don't know that. It doesn't look like that. They want you to be happy and healthy and save money and live better. Well, thank you. I want to do that too. So that's the first thing you see, okay? Because again, you don't sell shoes today going, hey, shoes right now, $19.95. Hey, New Balance, $99.99. Got it. A lot of people maybe don't wake up saying I need shoes, but they do need health. We all need happiness. We want to get better. So I click through, and now it says, hey, here's some workout ideas for you. You maybe have some challenges, and because you've been holed up, and because we know ice cream sales were up 62% last month, no joke. And so, yeah, we need some help. No gym, no problem. Here's 3 ideas for working out. If you're working out on treadmills or just running, biking, or lifting. So let's say I click the lifting, okay, on the far left. So then I get a story. Hey, running doesn't require much in the way of equipment. Just grab some running shoes. You get fitness. Hey, if you need a treadmill, yeah, and we have a lift. So you see all those hot words. When I click one on, they've embedded their product in there. So when I finally, now for the 4th time, say, yeah, that's my story. Yeah, I want to work out. Yeah, I want to be healthier. Yeah, I needed to get back to walking, power walking, or running. For me, it's power walking. Then, again, they bury the product service back behind the need. You got a problem, here's the solution. And by the way, you do this, you're going to feel great and look great. So if the masters, the people that spend more money than anyone in marketing, they're so brilliant at this, they're telling a story. Storytelling is so powerful today. And some of the most powerful stories in our lives we remember for a long time, like this little lady. That gave me nightmares forever. But of course, there was the good witch Glenda to help us. And in the end, we all wanted to get back to Kansas, right? So, but you know, good storytelling never changes. The basics are the basics. And if you start using what movie scripts have been using forever to make them so good, this is how you can tell stories. Not about you as much as how you can help your customer on their journey. And you're the Obi-Wan Kenobi helping that, because you're not product focused now, you're customer focused. What I mean is, let's start the wiggle. When I watched the Wizard of Oz, I kind of wiggled in my seat as a child, even though it was black and white back then on a small little tube that glowed. But bottom line is, it was kind of scary. I don't know about you, I kind of freaked out about the flying monkeys. But you know, the wiggle analogy is this: any good message today should have a wiggle in it. A wicked witch, the problem. Good witch is you, the business owner, the solution to help that customer on their journey. And tell them how they're going to feel. Tell them the lollipops and unicorns before they come and do business with you. And you'll see, if you start looking for the wiggle format, you'll see that in every storytelling, even a lot of insurance ads as well. Like, how about Farmers Insurance, right? There's always a problem. Who's to the rescue? J.K. Simmons, and we've seen a thing or two. So again, that format, if you start looking for wiggle, progressive, I could go through every basically good campaign out there that's storytelling, and you're going to find that wiggle. Let me give you an example. Here's a basic one. Call it Murphy's Muffler Shop. Once there was a car that made so much noise, babies cried, mothers locked the doors, drew the shades. Then along came Murphy's Muffler Shop. A fresh muffler made that bad car purr like a sleeping kitten. Now the people in the village are happy again. Well, that's just a wiggle message. What's the wicked witch? It's that car that was making so much noise, babies cried. And well, who's the good witch? You, Murphy's Muffler Shop. And you can turn that thing into a sleeping kitten. And now, how are you going to feel before you come in the door? I'll tell you right now, we're going to make that village happy again, because they can. So again, you're going to see this everywhere you go. What's the identified? And one problem at a time. Your customers have a lot of problems, but for every wicked witch, what's your good witch solution? And how's that going to make them feel? And you can have 100 stories that go on and on like that. But if you're going to do this, don't worry about the length or creative. Just focus on what's their problem, what's your solution, and how's it going to make them feel. Then go back and edit for time and all that other stuff. But it's not about being creative. In fact, you could take the kind of basic approach, and you can't do this. I don't want to hear a million ads that start out with once upon a time next week in southern Minnesota. But, you know, once upon a time, there's a customer. You give them a name, Fred, Alice, I don't know. But the customer had a problem, blank. Right? They discovered who? You, the business owner. And how do you solve that problem? You did this. You fixed it. You were there in a day. You wore booties. And after that, they loved you forever. And everyone talks about Ellsmore Plumbing now, or CarQuest Auto Parts at Norm's. So at Car, you know. So the bottom line is that that's a basic format, and this is how you start. But what you want to really do is kind of what we call palm the card, because you don't want every ad in America starting out with once upon a time. So you have an ad that once there was a car made so much noise, babies cried. So now let's palm the card and be a little more direct. And you could take this basic ad and take it to the next level like this. Your car is making the kind of noise that rattles the fillings out of the teeth of your neighbors. 4 houses down, by the way. Well, Murphy's Muffler Shop can fix that problem with our church quiet muffler. When's the last time you heard church quiet? You think quiet as a mouse? That's cliche. Church quiet, it's a different plane. Again, use words that shock, surprise, delight, seduce, something. Just don't bore me to death. And by the way, only 79 bucks installed for that church quiet muffler. Make your car run better. Hey, make your neighbors like you again. Lollipops and unicorns. Maybe you don't want them to like you. I don't know. Murphy's Muffler Shop. So that's a great example. Let me give you one more. In fact, in the book that David talked about, Tickle the Toes, Touch the Heart, and Change the Mind. By the way, that is free because you've attended today. If you don't have a copy, ask any of the folks at Subartic, and they will happily give you a signed copy if you want of my book. I talk about one of my people I'm working with many years, one of my marketing partners in my marketing firm, ad agency, is called Steve's Pest Control. Here's a guy who went through a bunch of recessions, but here's a guy, single location, doing $7 million plus, one location, family-owned business. Steve's Pest Control. Now, he knows his focus is not on him, his focus is on the customer, Steve's customer. So every ad talks about his customer. Now, the Wicked Witch in this ad is going to be 3 things: broccoli, That's right. Girlfriend. Yeah. And a barn door. What are you talking about? Well, you're going to have to listen. And who's always to the rescue? Your friend Steve. And what's he going to give you? Let's listen.
He's the kind of guy who would tell you that you have broccoli in your teeth.
You have a little something right there.
He'll tell you if your new girlfriend is bad news.
Dude, she's bad news.
And he isn't going to let you walk out the door and embarrass yourself.
Psst, hey, barn door. Barn door. Barn door.
Thank you.
He's your friend Steve from Steve's Pest Control, the friend that is going to come to your house and fix your pest problem. Fix it, eradicate, eliminate, kill the pests. And when it's done, he'll give you a good old Missouri handshake and guarantee the job is done.
I'm Steve, your friend in the pest control business. When any of my crew from Steve's Pest Control come to solve your pest problem, the problem will be solved. I guarantee it.
When you find one bitey bed bug or a congregation of cockroaches, call your friend Steve at Steve's Pest Control. Online at stevespestcontrol.com.
Now you got a friend in the pest control business, Steve's Pest Control.
I did a podcast on my Brand Camp podcast series on Apple Podcasts, available on Apple Podcasts. But just did a fun interview with Steve. Probably, I think it's, I'm not sure which episode it is, but just look up Steve's Pest Control. And if you want to learn how a guy can go from a Camaro and a pickup, or actually a Camaro and a spray can, and to, I think he's got 47 trucks now and 47 spray cans. And again, from nothing to 7 million, he tells his whole story during that 30-minute podcast. It's called Brand Camp and available on Apple iTunes. All right, so
He's the kind of
bottom line, we talked about a lot of things here, but if you can use that basic formula, Wicked Witch, Good Witch, Lollipops, Unicorn, it's amazing how far you can go. And you saw an example or heard an example with Steve's Pest Control. This can be written, this can be video, it doesn't matter. It's storytelling. And you use it, and when you really got this down, you have what's called bricks and mortar. Your mortar is your difference maker, the bricks are all the stories. Every customer problem is a new story. And you tie them all together in your social media, your mass media, and that's when you really got this thing cooking. Another guy we talked about in the beginning was Warren Buffett, and another favorite quote I like is, predicting rain doesn't count, but building the ark does. And you need to build your ark if you don't have it, because we're going to start setting sail here as we get back to business. So a good way to get ready to build that plan, to build that ark, is make sure in a barbell economy, you're telling people who you are, what's your difference maker, why you versus the other 52 hockey pucks that do what you do. Number two, what's your key to sales? We all know it's trust. Make sure you build trust through your ratings, your reviews, your consistency, your wow customer service. And lastly, what's the right message? Anytime, any type of economy, focus on the customer. The customer, your customers' needs have changed a lot in the last 4 weeks, 6 weeks. Focus on those, not only just short term, but long term, and address those one by one. You'll never, ever go wrong. We all know it's not where the puck is. As great business owners, we got to keep looking where the puck's going to be. And I don't know where that's going to be. You don't either, but we got to keep looking ahead. And in your messaging, be thinking definitely long term. And there's some free resources, by the way, available to you. All my books are available free from Subartic. Just ask any of your reps. I want one copy of any of those books. I'm making them free to you as participants who joined us today. We thank you. You can go to the Apple Podcast, again, Brand Camp Podcast, so you can see in the upper right and listen to all the business owner episodes on how they went from basically nothing to top of mind household names in their respective markets. And also a great interview I just did with Gordon Burrell, of course, and his research firm that's nationally acclaimed, and you see him on CNN and all sorts of stuff, Wall Street Journal. And if you want to see a bunch of business owners on how they survived previous recessions, like our butcher in Peoria that grew a 1.3 million in the first year of 2008 of a recession, go to Brandsformation, just type in the word YouTube, and go to YouTube and then type in the word Brandsformation. That'll pull up the channel, and you'll see, including some from southern Minnesota, business owners that have all taken on and not only just survived, but have thrived during these rough, tough times. And one other thing, if you really want to go whole hog, there's a 2-day, we're going to have Brand Camp Live. We're going to have 4 marketing minds all under one roof, some of the best in the country to help you with your digital, your mass media, et cetera. We teach you the right thing to say, where to say it media-wise, and how to measure it. It's a 2-day extravaganza. There's tuition involved in that, but if you're anxious to get going, mark your calendar and join us, our crazy guys, our camp counselors, and pull up a log around our campfire for a couple of days, and we're going to camp out in Kansas City. Now, if you don't want to pay tuition and you want to see something without a lot of travel, I got a better offer for you. Half day of brand camp free, a half-day version of that 2-day version. You can get it free if you want to mark your calendar right now in Mankato, October 14th, and Rochester, November 15th. All right? So, and if you need help, ask. We got some questions right now. People asking some things they want to talk about. We got a few minutes left, David.
Yeah, no, I was hoping for questions. Last time we were getting bombarded by them. Right now we don't have any. So if you guys have questions, especially on what Chuck just brought up, what is your story? Why are customers? What do you solve for customers? If you don't know what that is, maybe for yourself right now, go ahead and ask. We can try to brainstorm with you right now. Before you guys start, while you guys are starting to send some questions, just want to let you guys know we will be doing a recorded version of this webinar. So that's going to be sent out via your account executive, whoever invited you. And if you'd like to receive one of Chuck's book, like we talked about, the Tickle the Toes, Touch the Heart, Change the Mind. I don't know if there's signed copy though, Chuck. I think we got a couple of hundred. I'd be surprised you signed all of them, but please reach out to your rep.
I'll sign some more and ship them to you for anyone who wants one.
There you go.
If I sign them, it devaluates them. You know that. They go down to 23 cents at a consignment shop the next day. So you probably don't want them signed anyway.
Yeah, and one more thing here is for anybody that's participating, that's watching this webinar. Chuck was super nice enough to offer a free boss session. We're going to do a random drawing tomorrow at noon, Friday at noon. And if that's something you want to do, a boss session is basically a business owner strategy session. It's where we ask you 1,000 questions over 90 minutes, and we come up with pretty much like a marketing plan for you, a branding plan, who you are, what you should be, and that kind of things in your respective markets. So, and that's something that Chuck has been training us on for over the years, trained me on this over the years. And he is willing to do one of those over a Zoom meeting with your business. So if you are interested in one of those, please go ahead and email your rep that's invited you here from your market. And then that rep will pass that along to me. And then, if we get 10, 20 names, whatever, we'll pick one winner, and we'll contact you directly about that. So that's that. So make sure if you're interested in that, make sure you register to win. And one more thing I want to mention is we have our business rallies going on in every of our market. And when I say every market, Subartic Media, we have 19 stations between Rochester, one in Mankato. We have a market in Mankato, Rochester, Owatonna, Fairmont, and Marshall, Minnesota. So we have basically the whole Highway 14 corridor, from Wisconsin to South Dakota taken care of. So if you guys are interested in our business rally, it's basically where you can take advantage of a free radio interview. I think that's going on. Some market it's going on today, I believe, in Marshall, and then tomorrow in some other markets. And I believe some of our markets are even doing it again next week. So if that's something you want to take advantage of, please go ahead and reach out to your reps if you don't know anything about it. It's been going on amazing for us. So now as I'm getting back into the webinar, we do have a question from Brandon Krieger. Hey, Brandon, thanks for coming in. The Brandformation, he doesn't have a question, just has a comment more than anything else. The Brandformation book was incredibly helpful to me. Please don't offer to any of my competitors at Cows and Owatonna. Thanks, Chuck.
That's good.
So awesome. If there's any other,
I won't say a word.
Yeah, there you go. If there's any other questions, please feel free to ask right now. Otherwise, I think we're ready to go. Chuck, anything else you wanted to add?
No, I just, and I'm not paid to say this, I obviously have my own marketing firm and clients I work with, so I don't do this a lot, but I do work with only 3 media companies in America, in USA anyway, and one of those 3 is Subartic, and mainly it's because the people are so great. I mean, they train everyone to understand that the message is everything, because if you don't say the right thing, no matter where you say it, who cares if you're on biggest, baddest, #1 reach, whatever, they weren't listening, watching anyway because your message stunk. So having a great message, and anytime you need help, just ask for it, because I've been working with these guys for literally 2 decades now, and their crew, they know what's going on. And Bruce McCurdy and Mankato and Matt Kettleson and David Legault and all these great people in Subartic know what they're doing, and they've got good people. And this is not about media, it's about saying the right, when you say the right thing, when you say the right thing, no matter where you say it, it's going to come back to you. So learning to say that and ask for help, because they are happy to do it, and they do a good job at it, because they know if you don't say the right thing, that you're not going to monetize or see the most important thing, which is return on investment. And that's what the whole brand transformation system was set up on. So I'm looking forward to seeing you all this fall, and if you need help in the meantime, or you want to do some meetings, we're happy to help you out any way we can. But it's an honor and privilege to work with Subartic. Thank you for having me, and any way I can help, contact me, and I'm your man.
Awesome. All right. Well, hey, thanks so much, Chuck. Thank you, everyone, for participating. And we hope to see you in the fall, and we look forward to hear from you. Thank you.
Thank you all. Be well.